This is Motorsport Radio. Join the conversation and have your say on motorsport-radio.com. Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport Radio. It's the Superbike Show and it is the 2018 super look back at everything great that happened in MotoGP, BSB, World Superbikes and what will be happening in 2019. Yes, it's the last show of the season and well, it's going to be a good one. We've got some fantastic interviews coming up on the show tonight. We have lots of BSB goodness, some big news as well, and also some opinions we want from you about Jonathan Rea. Why is he not respected enough? It's probably a fact. That's what we want to know. It's one of our big questions tonight. Why are we not celebrating Johnny Rea enough as Brits in Britain? Let us know. We want your opinions tonight as we are very much live. You can get in touch with us. It's at M-Sport Radio on the Twitter. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook. I'll leave your comments in the comments box below. We have a couple of guests on the show tonight as well. I'll be introducing you to them shortly. Also, an update just before the Motorsport Awards voting closes. We will give you an update as to what big is happening in the awards, which particular categories are really, really narrow as well. And you'll be getting, might be getting an email about that in the morning. But yeah, we'll be having a big Motorsport Awards update as well, and also taking a look at just exactly the state of play in BSB in 2019. Who has gone where, who might go where, and what the situation is at the moment. On the show tonight, please welcome on Motorsport Radio. Please welcome. It is Kiko Giles, and brand new signing for Motorsport Radio. We're super delighted to have him. Please welcome Ed Hocknell. Hello, guys. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, well, you're making your, well, not exactly your Motorsport Radio debut tonight, Ed. You've been on before, but for 2019, you are officially now one of the team members here at Motorsport Radio, and yeah, we're certainly glad to have you on board.
Yes. Feels like I've been elevated into elite company out here. Yes, I'm going to be covering World Superbikes and the road races for the 2019 season, so I can't wait. 2 cracking championships and series, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, Ed is a big fan of what World Superbikes and you say a lot, pretty much all the road racing. So TT, the Northwest 200, and what else is big on your agenda for 2019?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What else will you be treating us to with your articles and reporting?
Oh yes, I mean, so mainly, as I said, World Superbike and road races. In particular, the biggest of the road races, the Northwest 200 and the Isle of Man TT. But I also dabble across with all the Grand Prix racing and British Superbikes. You won't be able to keep me away, basically.
Yeah, and you can already check out some of Ed's articles on our website, motorsport.radio. And yeah, we will be keeping you abreast with all the big news in World Superbikes, MotoGP and BSB as well through the winter and well into 2019. Later on in the show, we hope to be joined by Nat Jarvis as well, making his Superbike show debut, I think. And also a guy who, if you was watching, tuned into, I think, one of the last previous shows that we did, Liam... Hodgson, I always get his name right. Turn your mic on, Kiko. Liam Hodgins. So sorry, Liam.
Liam Hodgins. That's what I was miming.
Exactly. Well, Kiko and Liam put together a fantastic BSB package, a look at who is exactly going where and what seats are still open potentially in BSB for 2019. So we'll play that a bit later on. We've also got some big interviews tonight, though, haven't we, Kiko?
We have. We've got a little bit of Tom Sykes. Now, he's fairly critical of the quite strict rules that have been enforced in World Superbikes of late. So, great interview to come up from him later on. We've also got a bit of Bradley Ray. He'll be on. And don't forget, anything you miss on tonight's show is put back out on our social media channels at M Sport Radio on Twitter and Motorsport Radio on Facebook, and they're all put on a 24-hour live stream loop online. Motorsport.radio, the place to be for all of your audible content to do with the world of motorcycle racing.
Fantastic stuff. All right then, so we do have a little bit of news, I think. Let's say an update anyway. Let's get started with the news and MotoGP.
MotoGP, so it's all come to an end. We're going to talk about testing a little bit later on, so we're not going to talk about news right now. So we're going to talk about news in general, but not testing news. We'll review testing as and when. First things first, Australian viewers, we know there are some of you out there on the lovely bit of the world down on the other side of the planet. Australian Broadcasters Network 10 keep the rights for 3 more years, so until 2021 I make that, so 3 more seasons. Network 10 will be the Australian broadcasters of MotoGP. In Moto E, couldn't believe it, some massive names coming back into it, and testing has already begun. Bradley Smith's obviously been very, very quick, but Alex De Angelis, Randy De Pugno, Nicolo Canepa, and surprise of the lot, Sete Gibernau, they're all in Moto E. Could hardly believe the lineup. So actually, people who questioned Moto E and whether or not it'd be successful, they've got the names there to get the eyes on the TV, on the series, on the TV when it goes. I think there's 5 races next year. So Moto E definitely looking like it could be pretty popular, and the bikes look quick as well. Bradley Smith, I saw at the Jerez test, he looked pretty slick on one of the bikes actually. So we'll have to see how that goes. In MotoGP, Lorenzo Savadori has actually gone and left World Superbikes. He's gone to Moto E, although we've got a lot of riders doing a couple of things to do with Moto E. So don't be surprised if Lorenzo Savadori goes and races still in World Superbikes or something like that when it doesn't clash. MotoGP, other news, Casey Stoner ended his Ducati partnership. But in the test, it's been Alvaro Bautista who's been testing the Ducati for the Ducati test team. So yeah, all in all, not a lot of MotoGP news. There is one other little bit that came to us this morning.
Oh yeah.
But there's the Blue Crew Oceania Cup is now officially certified as a road to MotoGP. So like Cool Fab Racing in the UK, the Blue Crew Cup in Oceania, which is the other side of the world, Australia, Australia, Fiji, Vanuatu.
Isn't that like a sailing racing team or something?
I think they are backed actually by Yamaha, so might be interesting to see that we've got the Honda Asia Talent Cup, which uses obviously Honda, so maybe we'll get the Blue Crew Yamaha Oceania Cup. Who knows?
Interesting. It just sounds like something out of the America's Cup. That's all. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Well, anyway. But yeah, Moto E then. Moto E. We've talked a bit about it before, and we've kind of dismissed it as a serious launch on the public, let's say, just because it's new and people generally don't like anything that's new. But the lineup looking pretty good, should we say? Should we go that far?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, Sete Gibernau was last on the MotoGP bike competitively in 2009. So, you know, a decade ago in effect, really, because he's not going to make his racing debut until next year. You've got the riders like Randy De Pugno. Obviously, he's been a little bit more recent. Bradley Smith, still quite fast and up to pace. There is good riders in there. Alex De Angelis, been in World Superbikes in the last couple of years. It's not gone to plan for him, but he's a name and he's back in MotoGP effectively. It's a support series now to the main Premier class, as is Moto3, as is Moto2. It just doesn't go around the entire World Championship. Canepa, Nicolo Canepa is still quite up to pace. There's other riders in there too, so I'm not sure. I honestly think Moto E might be worth a watch. And I think if you're not planning on watching it, just watch the first one and see how it goes. It might be all right.
Ed, your thoughts on Moto E? I don't know if you've been paying attention to it at all, but will you be watching it? Will you be, as Kiko said, just giving it a quick watch?
Yeah, I think Dorna have actually played a bit of a PR blinder here with getting all these, for want of a phrase, golden oldie names that are going to be back on the track next year. It's, Sete Gibber now. It's Alex DeAngelis, Randy Depunier. These are guys, from about 10 years ago when we were younger, we can remember watching the race. We get to see them again on track. It's going to be fantastic. Watch that alone. But also, remember when the TT0 started about however many years ago? It was about 10 years ago. At the TT, it was laughed at because it was new. People didn't want to see it. It was electric bikes. They're slower. They're quieter. That's, I think, has been the main criticism because they're so much quieter than petrol engines. So Dorna thought, right, we've got to get the bums on the seats here. We've got to get the TV viewers in. Let's get the old timers back on the bikes racing. And DeAngelis and Depunier, they had a few fairly big clashes in the MotoGP days. So, maybe they might come together at one of the corners, one of the early races next year. It's certainly going to be worth watching, I think.
Let us know if you're looking forward to Moto E or not. You're allowed to not, love it. That's fine. It's okay with us. I suppose we're keeping an open mind, though, I would say, if anything. But let us know if you have already decided one way or the other. Get in touch with us tonight. Leave your comments box in comments box below, wherever you're tuned into this, even if you've downloaded it as an audio podcast, because we do them. On Spotify, we are on as well. I'll tell you more about that later. Anyway,
Spotify playlists.
Yes, those. Anyway, Moto 2 news, Geeko.
Moto 2 news. Big news, really, for reigning Moto 3 champion. It has come to our attention that in Moto 2, Jorge Martin has suffered a rather unfortunate incident, a left arm and right foot fracture, we are being told, for Jorge Martin in a testing crash at Jerez. So that is a disaster for him. He could really do without that, especially as this is his first season in Moto 2 coming up. And, in the first test, he's already done himself an injury. This next bit of news just completely annoys me. Romano Fenati's back with his old team in 2019.
What?
I'll say no more. And in Moto 2, that's in Moto 3. In Moto 2, unified electronics to Moto 2 by Magneti Marelli. So it was before where each chassis manufacturers and team was allowed to develop their own. It's now going to be controlled and unified by Magneti Marelli. So that's the news there. And that second piece of news is just abysmal.
Well, I think. Hang on a second, because we'd all know exactly what had happened. We all know the outcome of what Fenati did. But he had his licence revoked, isn't that right, from the Italian whatever
Federation.
That. And so has he been given it back, or what's the situation with his licence, and also the fact that everybody still hates him?
It's a hard one. I can't imagine that he has had a special pardon. I mean, he must have a very, very good solicitor, and I'm sorry for what Romano Fenati did. He lost his licence. I think the original thing was for 2 years, and he's been brought back with this official race licence. Can you imagine, as a competitor, how that's going to feel? How demoralising that's going to feel?
Could it be just a case of somebody purchasing their way back into Grand Prix racing, maybe? Is money talking here? Because if it was down to just safety and sensible decisions, then you'd have to imagine that he'd still be banned. But
you'd think that, but but this news came out that he was back with his old team in Moto 3, and then the next day he's been caught speeding down a motorway and child evading the Italian police. So he hasn't learned. He still hasn't learned. So we need what more? How much more sympathy does he need?
Well,
he's not getting any here. I think it's a ridiculous decision. I think the race direction, whoever's allowed him back, are embarrassing themselves. It's thrown MotoGP into a little bit of disrepute, really, letting a rider of that bloody intolerance back into it. But
let's just say he's not actually racing just yet.
He's a good rider. He's a good rider at the end of the day.
well, all.
When he's normal,
if he's not trying to kill people, yeah, I mean, you could say that about anybody, you know. When he's not trying to kill people, he's actually a decent rider, but
yeah, exactly.
He has a habit of trying to kill people.
Val Moat was a decent person when he was at school.
Anyway, David Clark has been on, says he should be banned for life. Charlie Andrews says regarding Moto E, I just think people need to give Moto E a chance. I think John Lennon said something along those lines as well.
He also said, imagine all the people, imagine all the riders next year who don't want to be even within a yard of him. I'm telling you, he ain't learned.
Anyway, let us know your thoughts on Fanati, apparently set to make a racing comeback as well. And some people drawing the comparisons with, if anybody knows the young driver Dan Ticktum, he did a spectacularly stupid thing in, I think, Formula 4 racing a couple of years ago, whereby he, during a safety car, overtook everybody, I think, and possibly the safety car, while there was marshals out on track, and slammed into a competitor on purpose. He was banned originally, I think, for life, but he was given like a 2-year ban. He's since served that ban, and he's been picked up since by Red Bull after he's served his ban. And many people still don't like him. He's only a young driver, but comparisons could be made from him to Fanati. I don't actually know how old Fanati is. 20-something? I don't know. Is he
mid-20s?
Yes.
I think. So.
And,
I mean, Ed, question for you. Like, you're looking at going into motorcycle racing. I mean, can you imagine this even happening in road racing, for example? It's just crazy.
In road racing, if anyone pulled a stunt like that, grabbing the front lever, they would be out for life. It's as simple as that. For road racing, as it's a more extreme form, it is far stricter, I should say. That said, having done a bit several years ago on the short circuits, as you know them over here, we sometimes do refer to it as a sport of psychopaths, but no one would think of grabbing a front brake in their right mind over here. Sometimes you have close overtakes, sometimes you try and get back at your opponent, but yeah, to actually lean over and grab someone's front brake, it's that. I'm just going to say, there's something wrong in the head with Romano Fanati. He just... Yeah. Because it's almost like he has this tally with himself of one-upmanship with himself. What can I do now to get up the nose of my rivals?
But whose fault would it be if he was to... Yes, I mean, he's done what he's done, and nobody condones that, and he's been banned as well. But whose fault would it be if he was to be let back and he did something similar, God forbid, even... potentially worse? Then it would be the officials' fault then, wouldn't it? Not his own, because we already know what he's like, and the fact that he has a tendency to try and do some stupid things. But if he's let back and he does something similar or worse, then yeah.
Yeah, certainly the officials would have to look at, I don't know whether it was the Dawn decision or whether it was the Italian racing decision. Either way, he has the licence back now. The Marinelli Snipers team as well, for example, they've also got to have some responsibility with this because they've chosen to take him back. After all, it's all very well having a license, but at the end of the day, the team has employed him to come racing again. So if something happens, there's going to be more than one party that's going to have to be held accountable if something happens. I really hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But you've got to say, like the story you said about the car driver, he at least served his ban, and if Red Bull picked him up, then presumably he'd obviously learned from his mistakes. So we have no idea, has Fanati really learned with his latest misdemeanor with the Italian police?
Anyway, let's not dwell on all of the hate. Ed, do you have some World Superbike news for us?
Yes, I do. They've been testing this week. Well, by they, I mean the 4 factory-supported reference teams, as we're now supposed to call them.
All right.
Factory reference teams to have been down in Jerez this week.
So you did an article on the website, Ed, about it, and something about something that's really vague. Apologies, but check it out anyway on the website, motorsport.radio.
Ducati and Kawasaki, those two that you're referring to. It's Ducati have been out testing their new Panigale V4R this week in dry conditions, and last after rain scuppered the chances of getting any meaningful data in Aragon a couple of weeks ago. All seems to be going well. Alvaro Bautista got his first go on the Panigale as well, and he likened it to being like a 250cc bike in terms of its handling. Now, for those who are a bit unfamiliar with Bautista's race history, he was a bit of a weapon in the old Grand Prix 250cc class, and were it not for the likes of Jorge Lorenzo and the late Marco Simoncelli, he was almost certainly going to dominate that class. He had some incredible fights with the two other riders I mentioned, and won a handful of races to go with them. He's already very comfortable on this Ducati, and this is just after the first 2 days of testing, so he's only going to get better. Hopefully he doesn't pick up any injuries, because Ducati needs someone to spearhead their challenge next year to take the fight to the Kawasaki's. Having said that, Kawasaki have rolled out their new ZX-10RR this year. And Jonathan Rea, despite saying let's not take it into account anything about headline lap times or anything this early on in the testing program, he only went and set a lap time which was 0.6 of a second faster than the rest of the field on the first day of testing, and by all accounts he's very happy already with the general base setup. So it looks like we're going to have Kawasaki Ducati again next year, but when Chaz Davis comes back to full fitness, and because he's currently got to get his shoulder sorted out after all the injuries he sustained mid-season, Davis feels very confident in the bike, and once he's got his shoulder back to normal, he can throw himself around the bike through the corners, and he reckons it's going to be as quick, if not quicker, than the Kawasaki. So the two teams are looking pretty good for next season. Yamaha, they have not brought a new R1 to the party for next year, but the Pattaya Yamaha team, they've kept their riders, Michael van der Mark and Alex Lowe's, so they're not having to waste any time finding a new base setup this weekend. They've just been gathering more and more data, refining the setup they already have. Remember, these two are now both race winners from this season. It's easy to forget with the Kawasaki domination story that Yamaha actually won 3 races in 2018 and got a shed full load of podiums. So they are ready to go for next year. They're just refining their setup. And with the new GRT Yamaha team coming in this year, spearheaded by World Supersport champion Sandro Cortesi and veteran Marco Melandri, there's so much data for Yamaha now to pore over, develop the bike, develop parts for their challenge next season. I have a feeling it is going to be a real 3-horse race for next season, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a lot of people hoping that it, as you say, will be a bit more open for 2019. Some people think it won't be. We will get onto predictions and stuff later on. But in World Superbikes, there's already been a team gone bust, gone into receivership, hasn't there? Tell us more.
Yeah, it's quite a sad story, really. After so many years, I think it could get the best part of 20 years, the Ten Carter Dutch team, which successfully partnered up with Honda for so many years, most notably in 2007, perhaps the zenith when they dominated with James Toteland on his way to his second World Superbike crown. They've sadly had to pull the plug out of their World Superbike effort. I read they declared themselves bankrupt, but it said they've now gone into receivership. There's at least some light for the company in some way, shape or form. It's a sad end to a team which they were kind of the David against the Goliath of World Superbikes, because they're just a tiny little outfit based outside of Amsterdam, this team, and they took on the world for so many years in this sport. Thankfully, though, it doesn't put the whole Honda project up in the air, because with Red Bull sponsorship the last couple of years, HRC getting involved now, and with the new Moriwaki Japanese-backed effort coming through as well, all combining to make one big factory effort. Team is in good stead, but it is sad that Tenkate have fallen by the wayside, and I was sad that HRC didn't try and do something to help keep them involved in the team in some way, as more just a thank you for so many years of that team basically being the standard bearer in World Superbikes for Honda.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you have any opinions on this, and I'm not sure if I necessarily do, but if you do, if you are a big World Superbike fan like Ed is, then let us know. If you think it is a shame, if you think, well, survival of the fittest, and they haven't survived, all's fair in motorsport, I suppose, then if that's your opinion, again, let us know. And some people have that opinion. They might be right or wrong to have that opinion. You're allowed to have an opposing opinion here on the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. All right, so thank you for that bit of news, Ed. And well, there's other news as well, Kiko, in BSB.
Lots of it. Now, most of it we cover later on, so not to worry, we're not missing anything about any team signings. We'll do a couple. Don't want to make later on video a little bit irrelevant, no. So, Moto Rapido have changed their name to Oxford Racing Ducati, because Oxford products are now the title sponsor of Moto Rapido, Steve Moore's team, and Tommy Bargel's been kept. So all is good there. Brilliant little signing, brilliant deal for next year. Peter Hickman is to keep himself relatively fit over the winter. He's going to go with Carl Cox Motorsport over to New Zealand. I can't remember the name of the races out there. I think it's Boxing Day, Wanganui or something like that. They're going to go over there and do the racing down in New Zealand. But Peter Hickman remains at Smith's Racing for 2019 alongside James Ellison. Now, that was a shock to all of us, really, because quite frankly, James Ellison was meant to retire, but he stayed on for another year. Apparently, he's going to be commuting from America all the way over to the United Kingdom for all of the British Superbike races. So
nice.
Bit of news there, and a lot of hard graft there from James Ellison, so fair play. Jake Archer is going to be on a GP2 bike for 2019, as is Sam Wilford, who will be on the show when we return next year. This is the last show, we must stress that, so get your questions in. It's the last chance you're going to get to do it live and direct. Sam Wilford goes to GP2 next year. He's bought Jorge Navarro's old Kalex from Gresini Racing Moto 2. And in the Superbike class itself, OMG Racing have re-signed Josh Elliott following Gino Ria's swift and rather sudden departure. So a little bit of news there for OMG Racing.
What was that actually about? That was, for those who don't know, for those who weren't actually following it, Gino was announced as having re-signed for the team a couple of weeks ago, and then I think less than 2 weeks later announced that they'd parted ways. But do we even know why or what reason? A lot of people speculating it's because he's got another ride somewhere else.
Well, a lot of speculation says he's setting his own team up. I'm not sure on that. That's just purely speculation. We have no, believe it or not, we actually don't have any inside knowledge on this. We was quite late finding out as it is. We were not in the know at all. But no, we're not sure what's going to happen. We don't know if Gino is going to actually stay in the championship. Is he going back to World Championship? He was at the Valencian Grand Prix, so
yeah, a lot of people think maybe he's going back into maybe Moto 2. If he's
Moto
not, is there? What's the age limit on that again?
50. Me and you could still have a go yet. On our combined ages.
Maybe not, but no. Well, which one am I thinking of? Is it Moto 3 with the...
Moto 3, the age limit is 27, I believe.
Yeah, 27's the Moto 3 age limit.
But yeah, there was a couple of rumours on some of the Facebook groups that I was reading that maybe he's got a ride in well, anything from Moto E to... somewhere in Moto 2, but he's keeping tight-lipped, and it could even be back in BSB, and one would think he's got unfinished business, maybe. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I was
talking to a handful of people, and I can tell you Gino here was talking to a team owner in British Superbikes. I will not name it, and I will not name the team, but apparently he is still talking to I don't know whether that's talking as in talking for a ride or just general chit-chat. But
well, if they were talking in public, then obviously there's like an unwritten rule, isn't there? If you see someone, say, in the paddock talking to some other team, you kind of think, why are they talking to each other? What's going? This is how I think, anyway. I'm usually
it's like when we was at Alton Park, and suddenly Ryan Vickers and Lee Hardy having a conversation outside the RAF regular and reserves Kawasaki racing team.
Yeah, what are they doing together? They're not just.
And then, strangely enough, 4 weeks later on a Sunday, there's an announcement.
These things tend to happen like that. Yeah. Anyway, so. Yes, BSB news then, and as we said, OMG re-signing, let's say, Josh Elliott for the 2019 season. Team already out testing in Spain this weekend. Follow them on their social media accounts as well. Some decent content on there. And we will get to your opinions and stuff a little later on, as well as opinions on why Johnny Ray isn't celebrated enough in this country. We want to know your opinions on that, and we've got some other opinions from some quite respected people in the World Superbike and MotoGP paddocks, let's say. But anyway, this is the Superbike Show. My name's Lester. Kiko Giles, Ed Hocknell is both here, and joining them, please welcome onto the show. He's hiding himself away. He is a little bit dark for people who are tuned in on our visual radio stream. Please welcome. It is Nat Jarvis. Hello, Nat.
Hello.
Good evening. Yes. Hope you're well. I think we can't. Can we see you? Okay. Give us a little wave. I don't know if you've frozen already, but anyway, we can hear you anyway. That's the main part, I think, for now. Hello and good evening and welcome to Motorsport Radio. You're making your Motorsport Radio debut, I think. Yes.
Yes.
You are. So yeah, welcome onto the show, and yeah, you're joining a illustrious team of Kiko Giles and Ed Hocknell, and of course myself. So yeah, we were just talking about BSB and stuff, and yeah, stuff really. Yeah, on to what were we talking about? Yes, Johnny Ray. I teased it just a moment ago. Jonathan Ray. How come, potentially, he is not as celebrated in this country as he probably should be? Now, at the NEC last week, at Motorcycle Live, we asked James Whittam and Julian Ryder as well about why they think maybe Jonathan Ray isn't as celebrated in this country by Brits. And here's what they had to say.
I think we are failing to recognise just how good and how professional and how perfect in every way Jonathan Ray is. And I don't just mean as a rider. Jonathan Ray is an exceptional rider who deserves his World Championships. However, he's also the best at setting a bike up. He's also the best at getting a tyre that's going to work. Anything goes wrong, it generally goes wrong for the whole paddock, and they've got to come up with a solution with their team, and he's the best at working it out. So he hasn't got... It's like a boxer with everything covered. He's got the longest reach, he's worked hardest, he's done the most sparring, he just has everything in his corner, and that's down to him. So he's an all-round package, Jonathan, and we don't celebrate him enough.
I think he was second in the BBC Sports View personality last year. I think that tells you what the British public think of Jonathan Ray. Look, it's World Superbike. It is not Motor Grand Prix. This doesn't mean that Jonathan Ray is not a great rider. He clearly is. But the level of the championship in recent years, once you get past the podium, has been questionable.
It has been questionable, according to Julian Ryder and Kiko. Yeah, you have some opinions on this as well. Now, is it something? Is it a reality? Because as Julian says there, he came second, and a narrow second as well, in last year's BBC Sports Personality of the Year award. So, considering that World Superbikes isn't even on anything like the BBC, I mean, yes, he does get quite a bit of coverage in Northern Ireland, but are we still yet? I mean, his profile is probably been raised since last year, but are we still not are we still failing to fully recognise his achievements?
How can anyone actually say we're not celebrating? We're not celebrating Jonathan Ray enough. We're doing nowhere near enough to celebrate our own countrymen's achievements. We're looking at someone who's, okay, the World Superbike field is nowhere near as illustrious or as competitive as it was 20 years ago. However, to turn up week in, week out, ride that bike as fast as he can for them 22-lap races, one on one day, one on the other, to do all that travelling. There's more travelling involved with World Superbikes now, to do all the bike preparation that's involved with all these. They say all about these electronic aids take us away from the rider. Does it, though? It probably gives the rider more of a headache to get his head around it. 4 years on the bounce, he's been the best of the best in World Superbikes. Each year it's got harder. Each year he's dominated further. World Superbikes, they're celebrating him, quite rightly so. We're not. Michael Doohan got 5 MotoGP championships in the 90s when 500cc Grand Prix, when 500cc Grand Prix was nowhere near as big as World Superbikes, but he's been celebrated very much for it. Jonathan Ray should be made a British, almost a symbol for sport, the spirit of the sport. He's an incredible rider across so many different aspects of the job. Rider, setting things up. He's great with the fans. The annual selfie with the fans at Phillip Island when he wins. Always a great thing to see. No one else does it. I honestly do not know why it's... I understand why it's not maybe in the papers, but we should be shouting more about him. That's mean it's our job as the media. We're doing it. Jonathan Ray's 4th world title, if I'm not mistaken, was hardly on any paper or even motorcycle-specific paper on a massive front-page spread.
I think you might be a little bit wrong there. I don't want to fall into the trap of saying, just because it wasn't featured on BBC News at 6, then nobody's talking about him, when that clearly isn't true. He does actually get a lot of coverage, but compared to, say, Marc Marquez, for example, then there does, and certainly in the past few years anyway, and there does seem to still be a little bit of hangover of the opinion that World Superbikes is not what it was. It's a little bit boring because he's a Schumacher-type character who's dominating, less so this year potentially, or the start of the year anyway, less so this year versus previous few years anyway, but we want to know what you think, particularly Pete Extons, who's tuned in right now, and Jack Haverkamp, who's has also tuned in, and Bert Taylor also tuned in to the show, amongst other people as well. Hello and good evening, guys. Nat, you've been listening to thank you very much, Kiko, we are live.
Sorry, just checking the comments there. Sorry, I have as well.
That's all right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, he really is. Anyway, right, so Nat, you've been listening to this, and is it really true? Do we just not care that much about Johnny Ray's achievements in World Superbikes?
I think it's hard to say, really. There was an interview that Carl Fogarty's done before, and he quite rightly said that, back in the days when he was riding, that was, World Superbikes was the top level 4-stroke championship, and MotoGP, or what was then 500 Grand Prix, was the top 2-stroke series. So, and now MotoGP is above and beyond the top level of 4-stroke racing, and World Superbikes has suffered ever since. But no, I don't think he's celebrated enough, because anyone that can go out and win 4 world championships on the bounce and dominate the way that Jonathan Ray has dominated World Superbikes for the last 4 years is an incredible talent. I don't think he is celebrated enough.
And as well, if that is true, Ed, how can we actually celebrate him? How can we do this British champion justice?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, to a point, we can shout about him on radio stations like this all we want. It's one of the big...
Well, we're already preaching to the converted, though, aren't we, to many respects?
Yes. The problem is the racing isn't shown live on TV. Yes, I know there's highlights on ITV4 midweek during the season, but it's something about live sport which drags the casual viewer in more than any highlights package ever could. Now, admittedly, MotoGP has kind of gone down the same route next year, Formula One as well. But Jonathan Rea, Kiko mentioned so many things that he did. One thing that hasn't been mentioned is actually the amount of PR work Jonathan Rea does in between races for Kawasaki and for World Superbikes as well. There's a reason why he is on wherever in the world they go to, with the exception of Argentina this year, because as it was their first race, they had to have an Argentinian rider on the post. Everywhere else, Jonathan Rea is the poster boy for World Superbikes because he puts in so many PR appearances for that sport. And on top of all that, he goes out and wins the races. This year, he wasn't even supposed to even win the championship. This was the year where World Superbikes, they changed the regulations to make it impossible for Jonathan Rea to win, with the mid-season engine rev limitations to basically slow the Kawasaki down.
Yeah, it was rule change, kind of like an anti-Johnny Rea rule change, although it wasn't actually that.
Yes.
It was designed because of him. It was like a Schumacher rule.
But it was. And that just makes this season even more spectacular because Rea won this championship with even more ease. If you look at the championship standings at the end, the amount of race wins he accumulated, he's just an incredible force. It's like Valentino Rossi between 2001 and 2005. Every time he gets on a bike, there is an expectation, not just with Rea, not just with his fans, but everyone else watching, that Rea is going to win because he is just so good, so efficient. He doesn't make mistakes. Maybe that's why he's perhaps not as celebrated as because he could almost be called a robot because he doesn't make mistakes. You know, if Chaz Davis wins a world championship, he might become a bit more popular in Britain because of all the big crashes that go with his success as well. And Chaz Davis very frequently comes up with some wonderfully outspoken views on the sport in interviews. He's a character.
Yes,
basically.
Character.
He's a character. And the British public in particular love their characters. So that's not to say Jonathan Rea isn't a character. I mean, he was over at the Northwest 200 earlier in the year, and he did the lap of honour of the Northwest 200 course, came back to the frankly hilarious interview with Philip McCallan, who was working for the BBC at the time, and laughing, joking. Anyone who says Jonathan Rea has no charisma, frankly, they don't know what they're talking about. He's a wonderful character for our sport. It's just that if anything, he's too sensible. He just doesn't say the outrageous things to make the headlines. He just does all his talking on the track. So, which for us sports lovers, us lovers of World Superbikes, is brilliant. But for the casual fans to gain awareness, yeah, I can see perhaps why it's not so as much loved.
Well, here's a comment that will be, I'm sure, almost universally unpopular. Phil Simmons. He says that Johnny Rea, is solely held responsible for the near death of World Superbikes. Ed, the near death.
Ooh. I mean, okay, I'm sorry, Jonathan Rea is just that good. He's the class act. Like I said, it's like Rossi in the early part of the noughties doing in the 90s. You know, we have Agostini in the 60s and early 70s. You know, every once in a while, a superstar, a force of nature, if you will, comes along and just dominates the sport. And Jonathan Rea, it's just happened that it's his time now in World Superbikes. I think there's this thing, a lot of people will only really appreciate everything Johnny Rea had done in about 20 years' time when he's long since retired. And they'll all be complaining of, there's no superstars now in the sport at all.
A bit like now that sort of Schumacher is no longer. I mean, we, like you say, I think we appreciate the dominance of people like Schumacher. At the time, a lot of people, including myself, yes, I hold my hands up, did think it was making, say, that sport a bit boring, that he was dominating, and similar comparisons could be drawn to Johnny Ray, but if it's anybody's fault for making World Superbikes boring, or the near death of, it's all of the other competitors for not holding Johnny Ray to account, not being as good as Jonathan Ray, not being able to catch Kawasaki and Jonathan Ray.
Yes, simply, it's Jonathan Ray he is so good with the package that Kawasaki have provided him. The two together are they have been for the last 4 years, unbeatable. It's simple as that. 2019, we could well see a change as Ducati, by all the sounds that they've been making out of the paddock, they've really stepped up for next year. So people saying, and I know it's not just this one comment that said Jonathan Ray's caused the near death of the sport. There are so many people who have said that. Look, next year, we're getting a reset as Ducati are bringing a new bike. Of course, Honda will have extra development. Their bike's getting better all the time. BMW, of course, are coming back into the sport as well. And Sean Muir Racing, he wouldn't have signed a deal with them if he didn't believe that the BMW would be very competitive from the gun. So we're going to have a much more competitive season than this year. That is, I can pretty much guarantee you now. I would happily put my head on the block and say that right now. Next season will be so much more competitive.
I'll hold you to that, Ed. So when it doesn't turn out to be as such, I will replay that moment there that you just said, and I'll hold you to account. Definitely, that's what will happen. This is the Superbike Show. This is Motorsport Radio. I'm Lester, and we've got an all-star panel on tonight's show joining us, because it's usually just myself and Kiko, and then, well, I got bored of Kiko, and I said, well, let's get some other people on and give some other people a chance to whinge and moan about various things. So please welcome onto the show Ed Hocknell, if you've just joined us, by the way. Ed, hello, good evening, and also Nat Jarvis as well. Now, Nat, we've not had a proper introduction to you. We've just sort of randomly, a lot of regular listeners might recognise the name, but tell us who you are, Nat, what you do, and where you do it, and why you're here.
To be honest, my main sort of motorcycle racing that I follow is BSB and MotoGP. Like most other fans, I do follow the TT, the two TT weeks, but yeah, BSB and MotoGP for me, because I think they just simply produce the best racing that any series can throw up, to be honest.
Fair enough. Okay, and it is a pleasure to welcome you on to the Superbike Show, even if it is just the last show of the season. That's just one of those things. I suppose we can maybe look to a view to making it a regular thing in 2019. Who knows? But yeah, certainly you're more than welcome to chip in with your opinions, as is Ed. And yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to get together for quite a while anyway. Some opposing opinions for Kiko and someone who isn't just myself anyway. So that's good. Anyway, we have to move on because we are running quite a long way behind schedule. And we've still got loads of interviews to get through as well, haven't we, Kiko?
We have indeed. Let's talk quickly about MotoGP testing, and we'll have a quick run through from here. Jorge Lorenzo's looking really good. 5th overall after today. Valentino Rossi not looking so good. That Yamaha engine is, I think he said, good enough for 4th. I think that says it all. He was 11th after today's testing. Zarco remains horrendously slow. 19th place for him. Danilo Petrucci topped yesterday but was 2nd. Surprise of the entire thing. In fact, there's been 3 surprises of the entire thing. But the major shock, surely, Takaki Nakagami, 3rd yesterday, top today. The Japanese is absolutely flying. Keep an eye on him for next year. Andrea Iannone struggling, 11th yesterday, and over a second nearly off pole, well, over a second off pole position, 0.8 seconds off Aleix Espargaro's best time set in the 2018 Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez in the qualifying session. Aprilia, they've brought in Andrea Iannone to try and resolve these issues. It's not looking good at the moment, but again, it is only testing. Testing will evolve, teams will improve, riders will get more comfortable. With Moto2, Sam Lowe's 2nd place overall. Jake Dixon, 28th place, so Brit Watch is there complete. However, Jake Dixon was top in the wet, so promising signs already. Luca Marini was top overall, so that win in Sepang for him has obviously speared him on to great things. Alex Marquez, third overall. Tetsuta Nagashima was in the top 10. Nicolo Bulaga was 11th, and I believe so he was top rookie. Thomas Luthi only 12th on his return. Stefano Manzi, hasn't thrown any bikes at the scenery yet, I'm glad to report. They are all still intact and the scenery isn't spoilt. He was 14th on MV Augusta's return to the paddock. So great stuff there on that all-Italian lineup. Anaya Bastianini was 17th. Fabio Di Giannantonio was 16th. They're the two main Italians that have come up to Moto2 after quite a few years of Moto3. Another Italian who's come up to Moto2 is Marco Bezzecchi, third in the World Championship last year in Moto3, even Championship leader at some point. So Bezzecchi 25th, Jorge Martin injured and 23rd. Statistic for you though, 13 different nationalities in Moto2 for this season. We could see potentially a different nationality in each position in the top 10 for the first time since Valencia 2011. There is a statistic for you. So say we got 10 different nationalities in the top 10. First time that's happened in nearly 8 years.
That's an interesting statistic. Thank you for that one, Kiko. Didn't know that. With Rossi, I suppose I'll ask. I'm going to ask Ed, really. With Rossi and Yamaha, what do you think? Is it getting worse for Rossi at the moment, or better at the moment? And will it get worse or better for 2019? Because he's not getting any younger, is he?
No, he's not getting it any younger at all. But then, if I could just bring road racing comparison in, you look at Joey Dunlop. He was still winning TTs all the way until he was 48. So age isn't necessarily a restriction. The Yamaha. It was getting better towards the end of the season. You know, Maverick Vinales won a Phillip Island this year on it, so there is potential in the bike. Still, Rossi would have had 2 very good results had he not have chucked at the scenery at Malaysia and the weather conspired against him in Valencia. I still think it's early days this winter. Yes, Yamaha, they don't have the fastest bike in a straight line. I can't remember a time if they've ever had a missile in a straight line. Ducati and Honda's straight line speed has been phenomenal this season, and I don't think anyone's got a chance of catching them up too much in that department. Though when Rossi says it's good enough for 4th, I'm assuming that means he thinks that Suzuki may have overtaken them, because Suzuki were kind of their closest rivals by the end of the season. It could be Rossi just trying to, in a way, take the pressure off himself, basically, for next year, because there's always the media hub of, will Rossi get his 10th? His 10th world title? How many more years will it take for him? And he's just like, this is his way of going, let's settle down, let's see what happens here. We've got a long winter of testing still to go. If he starts saying that when we get to the final pre-season test in Qatar, then yes, probably Yamaha are in the lurch. But it's end of November. Now we've got Malaysia, I think they go off to Phillip Island and Qatar, the 3 pre-season tests in the new year. So we will see. I think if Yamaha were in serious trouble, Rossi would be saying a lot stronger things than this engine is good enough for 4th. That's about it. That's just what I think, though.
And Nat, do you have any opinions on Rossi and Yamaha 2019, etc.?
I think, to be honest, Yamaha need to give the European test team a good year to get going. I think they need to give the Petronas SRT team a good year to get going and just let that data come to them. Ducati and Honda are significantly ahead of them in terms of having a European test team and having, B teams as you'd like, So I would expect maybe 1 or 2 wins for Yamaha next year, but I wouldn't expect anything significantly to be any different to this year, because I just think the rate of development on the Hondas and the Ducatis and the Suzuki's showing good form as well. I think Yamaha have got a lot of catching up to do, so they're going to have to work double the speed of the other teams to get on equal terms, if you like. So yeah, I still think they're in a spot of bother at the moment.
Ed, there's been some other testing as well, not just in Moto GP. What's the latest? What do you know on that, if anything?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, was that cutting out again? Okay, well, we were tracking a bit of Moto 2 testing, which has been happening this week. What do you know?
Not a lot more than what Kiko had said, apart from keeping an eye on the two Brits that are in the class. I was very pleased to see Sam Lowes get right up to the top of the timesheets. I think the switch to the Triumph engine, it's what he's needed. He's been in the doldrums for pretty much the last 2 years straight, having first been mucked around by Aprilia and then jumped on a decent Moto2 bike, but it was never going to be race winning and certainly not championship winning potential, that bike. He's now back at the Grassini team where he's had such good success in the past with. The Triumph engine, great leveler for everyone, and he just seems to have got off on the right foot straight away. So I think the future could be... I think, 2019 looks promising for Sam Lowes at this early stage. It's Jorge Martin down in 23rd, but as he's injured, I'm not really taking much notice of that. Everyone really, they've just been getting used to the Triumph engines. So I think they've got plenty more tests to go before next season. We're still a long way from knowing who are going to be the actual front runners in there. The one rider for me, which, because of the way he's gone the last couple of years, I had a bit of a question mark, was Nicolo Bulega going up into Moto 2, thinking, has he done anything to deserve it there? Well, he had that really good season, was it 2016, in Moto 3. But since then, he's just gone right off the edge of a cliff. I don't know what it is, but he's struggled. He's come nowhere near his form of 2016 out there. He has not been a regular podium finisher or a win contender at all. He's had flashes of brilliance. Maybe the change to Moto 2 will be a good thing, and 11th seems to suggest to me from this first test that he's got off to a decent start. He's an interesting one for me to watch, because I honestly don't know what to make of his career at the moment, because it seemed to have been a bit of limbo for the last 2 seasons.
Any opinions on that, Nat?
I think Bulega's biggest issue in Moto 3 is his size. He came into Moto 3 and he was quite big anyway, and he's at that age where he's only carried on growing. He seemed to have jumped straight on the Moto 2 and shown quite good form straight away. So I'm quite excited to see what Bulega can do next year. I think he's more than capable of maybe knocking in a few top 10s. But as any rider in the first year in a new category, it's going to be a year of learning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That was just a weird end to the sentence. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, if you hadn't finished talking anyway, sorry about that, Nat. Yeah. Anyway, so Moto 2 testing. Let's. I don't know. Do you have any opinions on it? Let us know. It's at M Sport Radio on the old Twitters, which I think we're streaming live on right now. Hello, good evening. You can listen back to this show as an audio download, or podcast, as the kids call it. You can download it on the old Spotify, on the Apple Podcast app, and where else? I don't know. Wherever people usually listen to audio and stuff. We're everywhere, basically. You can even go onto our website, the old-fashioned way, motorsport.radio, and tune in or listen back or watch back any of the Superbike shows from 2018 or even 2017, because everything that we're doing on Motorsport Radio is in beautiful visual radio. Yes, fantastic stuff. World Superbike calendar, back to World Superbikes and 2019, Kiko. There's not new news, but there's, let's say, in case you missed it, sort of news updates.
Yeah. In case you missed it, Jerez is coming back. Jerez in Spain. Strange one for me. Spanish rounds are the poorest attended rounds in World Superbike, so to put another one on, it doesn't add up. Kyle Army we're being told is confirmed. The official calendar said that there was no round there was a round scheduled for these selected dates, but the circuit and country and location, no one seems to know. So Kyalami, I believe, is going to come on. It's just not confirmed. Donington Park and Laguna Seca are to be confirmed. They're the worrying ones. Laguna Seca have actually put out that they're not having a round at all. So, again, mixed messages there. But the season starts and ends with 2 flyaways. So it starts in Australia and Thailand and ends in Argentina and Qatar. So similar to, well, exact same to this year.
Yeah, it'll be good to see them back in the old Australia land. Starting
always
off.
the best race of the year, actually. So it's always one that all the hype of the pre-season, it's actually met by some thrilling racing. It's so rare it happens, but for the last few years, World Superbikes has been top draw down under.
Yeah, and if Australia was anything like this year's race next year, it'll have everybody on their edge of their seat thinking, is this when Moto when World Superbikes actually gets kind of as great as we want it to be? Because if you remember, it was the first round when Johnny Ray didn't dominate. He did have quite a few problems, and then as the season went on, yeah,
seen that film a few times.
Yeah,
we know the end.
But that I suppose that is the mark of a great champion, isn't it? To come back from whatever problems you've got and stuff.
Just to add on to something Ed was saying earlier about it won't be until later on in Johnny Ray's career where we'll be celebrated. If someone beats him, suddenly World Superbike will be watched, and Jonathan Ray will be seen as like this god has been taken down. He is beatable. You know, when Nicky Hayden beat Valentino Rossi in 06, okay, might not have been the most dominant of championships for Nicky Hayden. Still happened. No matter how you win a championship, if your name's next to number one at the end of the season, you are still going to be crowned champion. And if someone can do it, suddenly the sport becomes watchable again because it's not the same old story.
Yeah.
That's just how I look.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you get the prospect of 2020 of can Ray fight back? So
Yes.
2020 would suddenly then probably have the biggest World Superbike audience probably since 2002 when Bayliss and Edwards were knocking 7 bells out of each other on track.
When's his current contract expire anyway? Do we know?
2020.
2020. Jonathan Ray has his contract with Kawasaki. It's been extended till the end of the 2020 season.
And if he wins from now till then, will he? Do you think continue? Will he want to continue?
Yeah. Let's say he'll be 33. I think by the end of 2020 or 34, one of the two. So he'll still have plenty of. If you look at Jonathan Ray's the greatest of all time as far as World Superbikes are now concerned. If you look at MotoGP's greatest of all time,
you do get kind of winner's fatigue as well, though. I think that's the thing I just.
Depends if the bike's good enough. He's still got the hunger, and if he's still got a teammate that's pushing him, week in, week out. Which Leon Haslam, that's something we haven't mentioned for this year. Leon Haslam, how hard's he going to push Johnny Ray next year? I think give Haslam a few rounds to get up to speed, but certainly towards the second half of the season, it really will be a cracking in-house scrap between those two, week in, week out. That motivation to remain top dog in the same team, I think he's not going to quit in 2020. I don't think that, especially if Kawasaki are still as competitive as they are. Just to go back to clear up some of the calendar stuff for next year. So Jerez, as you mentioned, in first week in June, when it is, that's to cover for neither Brno or a German round being held. There was a rumour going around that Dorna were in talks with the Nürburgring for a long period of last year. That sadly hasn't happened as Jerez is on the calendar. But the rumours haven't gone away for the 2020 season, so it's probably down to can the Nürburgring actually host a World Superbike event, and will the track be up to the required safety standard? The safety standard brings me nicely onto the Kyalami circuit. That's been penciled in for the weekend of the 19th to the 21st of July. It is pending a track safety inspection. Donington Park has been confirmed as it's on for the first weekend in July, the 5th to the 7th. So there is a UK round after Northern Ireland, sadly, their circuit could not host this year. So we UK fans, we do get our home round. It's Donington Park. Yes, it was. I can't remember.
Was it ever really going to happen? To be honest,
is it the Coal Island circuit?
Coal Island, that's the one.
Yeah. Lake Torrens.
That's what it's called, and it was
Lake Joke.
Well, in fairness to the organisers, they've at least admitted, unlike the Circuit of Wales, that the circuit wasn't going to be ready in time. Unlike Circuit of Wales, who of course kept saying, "Oh no, it'll be ready, it'll be ready." Oh, we haven't got a circuit. Back to Silverstone.
It is ready. It's just not built at all. Other than that, we're perfectly ready to go.
Bought the land. We've bought the land. That's about it. So it's just don't get me started.
It's almost like having a referendum on whether to stay in the European Union.
Okay, and that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid, on the World Superbike discussion. But moving on, because we are actually horrifically behind.
Just
go on.
Bad news of the calendar from one point of view. It's Laguna Seca. It's not to be confirmed. They are not hosting a round in 2019 because they haven't really given an official reason why not.
Money.
But they were reportedly very unhappy with the August date that they were offered, and so it seems like it's kind of a protest to not getting the round in their usual late June, early July slot. But they've said they will be back on the calendar for 2020. So hopefully it's just a hiatus.
Go on, Kiko.
There is some rumour to say that they're having their own bike week, Laguna Seca Bike Week, so similar to Daytona Bike Week in April or May at the start of the year. They're going to have Laguna Seca Bike Week. So the obvious thing to do is write off the World Championship. Maybe that's just me.
That's not that obvious. Anyway, we do have to move on because we have lots and lots of things, believe it or not, to squeeze in, including a look ahead of the 2019 BSB. Not calendar, but the grid. Who's where, who's signed for whom, and who is going wherever, and what's happening, and where are your favourite riders. We'll get to Kiko's and Kiko's edited and Liam's edited package on that.
Thank you, Kiko, for reminding me of his name.
Shut up. I'm just used to Kiko, and then all these suddenly bombarded by Ed, and then there's too many names to remember. I've only got a small brain. Anyway, I did promise you interviews, and here now is an interview that Kiko sort of conducted underwater, it seems like, with Mr. Tom Sykes, who we bumped into at the NEC. Tell us more, Kiko.
Yeah, we spoke to Tom Sykes about quite a few things, actually. 2018, how it's been. 2019, how it's going to be, or how he hopes it's going to be. His time is in World Superbike, so changes from when he was there, because he's been there a decade now. This is it's his 10th season complete. He's going into his 10th year of World Superbikes. So, yeah, a few questions were asked in submarine.
Let's have a listen anyway.
But have a listen and see what you make of this. Well, Tom Sykes at the NEC talking to myself.
You ready? We're here with 2013 World Superbike champion Tom Sykes. Tom, thanks for joining us first of all, and big story for 2019 is you changing manufacturer after quite a lengthy relationship with Kawasaki. Tell us how excited you are. I can tell that Huddersfield grin is back on your face.
Yeah, I mean, quite lengthy, understatement. Yeah, obviously a 9-year relationship there, and obviously all good things must come to an end, but I'm really excited about the up and coming challenge now. Riding for BMW, such a prestigious manufacturer. I'm really excited about the new bike, the S1000RR, and the possibilities that may bring.
How are you looking forward to a change in teammate or change in dynamic within the team? You're firmly, I'd say, number one rider in BMW now with Marcus Weitberger coming back, whereas over the last year some people might say it was the other way around at Kawasaki.
Yeah, I don't look at it like that. I mean, unfortunately a lot of people do. They always look at number one, number two. I look at it as a team, and my teammate next year is Marcus, who's a world champion also with the Superstock. So I just the target is for me and Marcus to develop as possible and be as competitive as quickly as possible as well. So that's a target, and I really feel the dynamic will be good. BMW, partnered with Sean Muir Racing, who obviously have a very good outfit, and they put a very strong team together, so I'm sure they'll facilitate the BMW very well, and we can start getting some good.
Since you came into World Superbikes in 2009, fair to say the championship's undergone a whole shed load of changes. How's your view on how it's gone lately with the split races on Saturday and Sunday, the changing qualifying format, the grid as well? How do you view all that?
Yeah, horses for courses. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I've certainly got my own opinion with those changes. I mean, there's no, because it's not going to change anything, and all I would say is that it is a shame, because quite a number of years ago the World Championship was more of a race championship, let's say, where you could change a lot more perhaps, whereas it's really a lot of parameters are fixed. And I always joke with my granddad, we could change more on our bike out the back of a Ford Transit van than what we have done in World Superbikes. So it is quite limited now, which is a shame. I feel that is a handicap for certainly a few of the top riders in the championship. So it suits some riders, but on the other hand, like I said, handicaps, I could probably name 3 who I feel would be a lot stronger if the rules were more open. So we'll see. It is what it is. It's all about the best bike now, and that's with BMW.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Julian Zacco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Oh, you're not there anymore. This is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio, and we will play this again. Apparently, no, let's not play that again. Anyway, right. So, hello, good evening. Hello, yes, no, everything's fine. Everything works fine. Hello, good evening, Ed. Hello, Kiko. And Nat Jarvis is still here. I think he's been sort of freezing over. Or he's just. I thought he was just giving me a weird look. He has frozen. There we go.
I have frozen.
Oh, you have. That's fine.
I have frozen. Yeah.
Okay, that would explain it.
Or to let it go.
Anyway, so yeah, the rest of that Tom Sykes interview we will post on one of our social media channels. We'll clean the audio up a little bit, and. He did say some very interesting things. But the most interesting, I think you've already heard anyway, is that he thinks it would be probably best to, not to put too many words in his mouth, but that he could probably change more parameters on a bike in the back of his Transit than he could on his World Superbike. Which says a lot. I mean, we all knew it was a bit sort of restrictive in World Superbikes, but personally, I didn't know it was that ridiculous. Ed?
Yes, they've certainly in recent years, the race organisers have made it very hard to change much of the parameters of the bike, but that's simply to keep the Superbikes in line with their road-going vehicles. It's because it's a production-based racing series. It's not like your Grand Prix prototypes. There has to be a clear difference, and that was the reason behind it. Has it gone too far and made it restrictive? Well, I can see where Tom Sykes is coming from.
But I mean, who actually, honestly, really, realistically? Yes, I mean, we all know it's the road versions of the bikes that we see in the showrooms and on places like Motorcycle Live. But honestly, do we really care? Do we actually care if the World Superbikes were allowed to just make a few more changes? Would it? I mean, as long as you don't start, slapping wings and stuff and getting like ridiculous on them and moving.
You wouldn't be able to add the wings on unless it was already part of their road going. But versions. I mean, even then, it would have to be on 500 of them or whatever the number is for the road going versions to constitute a Superbike. But
But I mean, do they have to stay that faithful to, or as near as possible to, the road-going versions?
It's a good question because, and it brings in, what's the difference between a super stock and a superbike? Because a super stock, you can do very little. You can change the tyres, you can change the suspension settings. And it sounds to me from that interview as if what Sykes is saying is that you can't do a whole lot more with the World Superbike, despite the fact they've got infinite number of electronic settings that you can have on them. They're far more advanced than any super stock is. And yet the mechanics are not being allowed to play with them. And I suppose it can be a bit demoralising because, in a sense, if you're not fast straight out the box, that's kind of your lot. And that is where some of the criticism at World Superbikes has been aimed at. So, yes, they probably could do with relaxing the rules slightly, allowing a bit more leeway with what the technical guys want to do, just to try and just make the bikes more competitive, even them up, just do something to make the sport more competitive, get the bikes closer together and give the riders what they want, because they've got to race the bikes at the end of the day.
Yeah, indeed. Let us know your thoughts if you have any passionate opinions on how much World Superbikes should be allowed to change for competitive reasons. Let's say the changes that they've made for 2018. If you know that much about them, were they good? Did they? I know a lot of people were fearing that they might have the wrong make World Superbikes going in the wrong direction, but ultimately I think it kind of worked out okay. It didn't have that much of a negative impact, we don't think, do we, Ed? But let us know if you have any opinions on that. We do have to move on quickly because otherwise we will be here all night talking and unfreezing Nat's screen. Sorry about that. Nah, he's not that bored. He's genuinely, it's probably just technology. It's not my fault this time. But anyway. We'll blame Kiko. Usually his fault.
Brilliant. I'm always being blamed. Scapegoat.
Because it's usually your fault. You're breaking everything. Anyway.
So I'll take the name of scapegoat if the goat means greatest of all time.
It
Blow my own trumpet, I'll say that.
Don't do that on air. Anyway, the Motorsport Awards. The voting for the Motorsport Awards closes on Monday, by the way, and it is super, super close. Unbelievably close in a couple of categories. You may want to go and check out. I know a lot of people tuned in have already probably voted already in some of their favoured categories where they have a personal interest in or something like that, but check out some of the other categories as well, because Rider of the Year, Driver of the Year, whatever that is, Young Rider of the Year, the Star of the Future for the bikes, and also Team of the Year, fantastically close, and Commentator of the Year, very, very close at the moment, between 1 and 2% in it right now, and voting closes on Monday. Ed, have you voted already? Yes, he says. And Nat, we know you have already voted already, haven't you?
I would nod, but I think I've frozen again.
Oh, that's good. He is nodding.
I know it's cold outside. I didn't think it was that cold. Good Lord.
But yeah, Kiko is.
I voted.
Yeah,
I'm confident. Yes.
For once, yes. Well done. And yeah, so if you have already voted, well done, thank you very much. But you have lots of different options, lots of different categories to also vote in. Voting is limited by email address. So per person, it's limited by email address and IP per category. So you can vote in up to 38 different categories. Everything from, like I said, Commentator of the Year. There's so many. I keep forgetting some of the ones lower down the list, there's Spirit of the Sport Award as well, and all
Company of the Year. Company of the Year is that one? Because Mackenzie Hodgson Insurance are up for.
Oh yeah, Insurance Company.
Insurance Company
of the Year. Yes, that is Mackenzie Hodgson, and I think Carol Nash as well, also nominated for a Motorsport Award, Insurance Company of the Year. Basically, so let us know
for
about
insurance
that.
purposes.
Kiko, moving on to other matters, World Superbike testing. What's been going on?
Well, it's been Brits 1, 2, and 3 really. Jonathan Rea, Alex Lowes, and Leon Hazard. They've been covered by a second now. I mean, that's a bit much for me, I like in that. But Alvaro Bautista, fourth already. He's a great development rider. He's only going to get quicker. So Alvaro Bautista will close that gap. He's on that Aruba.itv for Panigale Ducati. Marco Melandri and Sandro Cortese, only 7th and 8th. GRT very much in a learning year. So the Marco Melandri and Sandro Cortese pairing, expect big things, but not straight away, I think, is where we're going with that. Kawasaki, though, 1st and 3rd. That's not bad going. That is not bad going at all. Just a quick stat. Brits 1st, 2nd and 3rd. The last time that Brits were not 1st or 2nd in a World Superbike race. 2016, race 2, Malaysia. Nicky Hayden 1st, Davide Giuliano 2nd. How long is that? It's nearly 3 years. It's 2.5 years. That is incredible. So, and this is what we're going back to. How do we celebrate Jonathan Rea enough? I think that shows absolutely not, because he's been one of the riders, not most of the time, who's been 1st or 2nd. Incredible. Doing a nation proud on a world stage. Not many people do that. Oh, are we still? Oh, are we carrying on? What's happened here? Well, shall we carry on anyway? We'll go. Ed, I know you're still with me. I can see you moving around there. Yes. Eugene Laverty, Team Go 11 Ducati. Now, Team Go 11 Ducati, new team for 2019. In a way, they're a new team. They obviously run Kawasaki's before. Yes. How are they going to, A, adapt to Ducati, and B, how is Eugene Laverty going to adapt to Team Go 11 and Ducati? Well, something he hasn't known before.
Well, I think the answers are interlocked with each other. I think it's a great signing from Go 11. Have got Eugene Laverty on board. He's not a stranger to Ducati machinery. Remember his last couple of years in MotoGP when he was on the Aspar Ducati team. So, and with the new Panigale running a V4 engine, okay, yes, it's slightly differently configured than a Grand Prix bike, but he knows how the engine fundamentally behaves. It's going to speed up the process for the whole team of understanding the bike, understanding the engine, understanding where they are in a competitive sense over the winter. And Eugene Laverty, after being given the boot, some would say rather perhaps unfairly, at the end of last season from the Milwaukee Aprilia team, he's going to be gunning for good results from the start to prove why he deserves to stay in this World Championship. And I think Go 11, small independent team, but then by no means small in the sense of money. They're a well-backed team. They've been in this sport a long time. Laverty, Ducati, I think it's a good mix. I think when they start testing after Christmas, it's not going to take long before they get up to speed. And, they could be kind of the Barney Ducati team of next year. Laverty taking over the role of Flores, who was always up there fighting for a podium finish with the big factory reference teams.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic, that is for sure. Now, I'll come to you. I know you haven't followed World Superbike as much this year in comparison to BSB and MotoGP, but excuse me, World Superbikes, with Eugene Laverty going to an independent team now, that is the kind of balance they could do with a big name on a bike that probably shouldn't be up the front. Could they manage to... Could Eugene Laverty be, in a way, a bit of a revelation? What's your thoughts on that?
It depends on a lot of factors, really, doesn't it? It depends on what upgrades Go 11 are going to be getting from Ducati and when they're going to be getting them. But, ultimately, I think Eugene Laverty is the sort of rider that can just ride anything quickly, effectively. So yeah, I think he'll be sort of sniffing around the top 6 for the championship, I would have thought.
Okay.
Those are interesting thoughts. Thank you very much for those guys. One guy who was, I suppose, rumoured to maybe at one point this year be making the switch to World Superbikes for 2019, Brad Ray. For reasons that you probably already know, we decided to probably just stick to BSB and do the very best job he can do, i.e. maybe win the title contender, one would say. Not to put too much pressure on him at this early stage, but yeah, he certainly is. We would think now that Dixon's gone, and if Shane isn't back, then you'd have to say maybe Brad Ray. Coincidentally, we actually heard from Brad Ray at the at Motorcycle Live at the NEC. What did he have to say, Kiko?
Well, I suppose there's only one way to find out. Bradley Ray spoke to us at the NEC, and just for reference, there is going to be a bit of a caption coming out. Caption this competition. You don't win anything apart from pride from all of us. But yeah, we're going to put something out on our Motorsport Radio Facebook and Twitters, and we want you to get involved. But of course, the conversation goes on after the interview. This is what Brad Ray said to us at the NEC.
Would you look who's at the NEC Motorcycle Live show? Bradley Ray, 6th in the British Superbike Championship this year. Started off really well, lots of highlights of the season. Tell us about it from your point of view. How was 2018?
Yeah, I mean, the first few rounds were quite an eye-opener for me. I mean, the results weren't exactly what we were expecting so early on, and I mean, we had really good pace, and the bike was working really well from round one. Through the mid part of the year, we sort of lost our way a little bit, lost a bit of confidence with a few crashes, and lost our way with the bike, trying to improve it. And I think we learnt a lot from 2018. I mean, we proved that if the package is working and I'm feeling good, then we can go out and fight for wins. But yeah, like I say, we just lost our way to it a bit towards the middle of the season and towards the end of it. So we come back at Cadwell. We found a good package for Cadwell. We had good pace there, and then from there on we were struggling a little bit. But no, the team have been working amazing. We've been trying to do improvements, and they've been 100% behind me to make the package work. So yeah, from 2018 to 2019, we've got a few things we need to work on, but at the end of the day, we show we've had good pace throughout the year, and I think we can go into 2019 quite positive with the package we got.
Spoke about British Superbikes. Of course, you did a little bit of other stuff. The Suzuki 8-hour, did a bit of racing in Japan at the end of the season, and a World Superbike wildcard at Donington Park. Out of those three, what was the more significant highlight away from BSB for you?
I would probably say racing in the Suzuki 8-hour. I mean, being out there and the atmosphere of being involved in the 8-hour is unbelievable. I mean, it's one of the biggest events out there throughout the whole year. So yeah, they put in so much work to be there. And the feeling to go out and do an 8-hour stint with your teammates to try and get on that podium. And I mean, we had good pace out there. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of an issue in the start of the race, which put us back to about 50th, I think. So we fought back to 10th, and I was lucky enough to be able to do the last hour and finish the 8-hour in the dark with all the lights. And it was an amazing experience and something I'll never forget. And that was a big thank you to Yoshimura Japan and Stephen Stewart from Hawk Racing for getting me involved. And also done the last round of the Japanese Championship a few weeks ago, which was really good. And yeah, we learnt a lot from going out to Japan. Learnt a lot about the bike and a lot of things we can bring back to BSB that can help us, and to do the wild card at Donington was really good.
It's the bike as it looked the real deal at the start of the year. Like you say, you lost your way a little bit in the mid-season. Spoke to Stuart Hickin at the last round of the season. He says there's not one thing that needs improving massively, just little incremental changes. What would be the biggest incremental change for you? If you could choose one aspect of the bike to improve, what would it be?
It's difficult to put my finger on what we need to improve. Like Stuart said, it's just a few little areas, a few little things. Not a lot shows up on the data, so it's difficult to improve. It's just a rider feeling, and it's difficult. It's a vicious circle. I mean, you lose confidence with the bike, and then when you do get the bike going again, you've got to build your confidence again, and it's just one of them vicious circles. I think we got into a little bit of a rut and couldn't get out of it. But I mean, the team are putting maximum effort to improve the bike and make changes, and we may have gone the opposite direction to what we should have done. But we're all learning as a team, and I think we can improve the package for next year. It's not too much chassis wise; it's a bit more electronics and clutch package. So yeah, it's just like Stuart said, a few little areas that need improving. And I think we're not far off the money. We're on the verge of being absolutely brilliant and struggling. So yeah, we just got to find that sweet spot and use it at most rounds.
We've done a lot of racing away from British Superbikes. We've gone through that, raced the year as well at Mallory. I shouldn't forget that. Is there any desire to maybe do a little bit of road racing here and there? We see the likes of Peter Hickman, Glenn Irwin, they've all dabbled with it. Those two have stayed with it. Are you going to try it? Is it at an age where maybe some would say a little bit young for road racing, but is it a consideration for the future?
Not for me at the minute, definitely not. I mean, the road racing side I haven't really taken an interest to. I mean, fair play to the people who do it. It's something that you have to commit to, and I think in my stage in the career I'm not willing to go out and commit to road racing. I want to do other things. I want to go to World Championship and build a career there. I'd like to do a parade lap maybe around the TT and see what it's all about. But yeah, like I say, at the minute I'm not really too fussed about going over to TT or even any sort of road race. I mean, it's not something that excites me or something that I want to do, so I'll stick to track at the minute.
If I was to give you a 5-year plan, say 5 years time, where do you see yourself? Probably still back at the NEC, but in what championship, on what bike would you like to be? World Superbikes, MotoGP, you've been in Grand Prix paddock before in the feeder class of Red Bull Rookies, so is that still an option? Is that where you ultimately want to be?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid you always dream to go into MotoGP, and it's not always possible for everyone. I think we just got to try and make the right choice. I'd like to be in 5 years' time in a world stage, whether it's World Superbikes or Moto2 or MotoGP or something in the world stage. I think we can work towards that, and I'd like to think that we can work. Yeah, like I said, work in that direction to be into the World Championship in some class in the next 5 years.
Final question, 2019, massive step in 2018, a decent first year in 2017. Is 2019 going to be the year where Bradley Ray shines from start to finish right the way through?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I mean, it's easy for us to say here that we've won races this year, yeah, and we've also struggled this year. Racing's never easy, and you've got to have that feeling with the bike. I mean, hasn't proved that this year. He was quick from start to finish. He had that confidence and that feeling with the bike to be able to win in any conditions that was thrown at him. So I think we can work towards that this year. In 2019, I feel that we got a good package underneath us. Hawk Racing are gonna put a good package underneath me. I'm going to give it 100% as I always do, and I feel we learnt a lot this year as a team, and I learnt a lot in myself. And I think that next year we can have a good go at fighting for the championship, and that's what we're out there to do.
Brad, all the best for 2019 from all of us.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
British Superbikes in 2019 is set to be bigger and better than ever before, with Grand Prix recruits, World Superbike arrivals and homegrown talent all to make British Superbikes the ultimate melting pot of international talent. Let's take a look at the stars of the forthcoming year.
The Bournemouth Kawasaki team have an all-new look for 2019, with Glenn Irwin switching from Ducati to Kawasaki, whilst Ben Curry moves up from the official Supersport team to make his British Superbike debut. Both riders will be looking to walk in the footsteps of Leon Haslam, who took the title in 2018 before heading off to World Superbikes.
Challenging the reigning champions with arguably the most exciting team lineup in some years, Paul Bird has opted for a star-studded approach to his 2019 British Superbike title charge. Josh Brooks moves over to the Paul Bird Motorsport UK Ducati team in his hunt for a second title, while Scott Redding will look to take his Grand Prix experience and flamboyant charisma to the top of the Bennett's British Superbike Championship. Surely, on paper, the Paul Bird Motorsport Ducati team are favourites again in 2019.
McCam's Yamaha have a refreshing feel to them for the season. Taryn McKenzie rightfully keeps his ride after a stellar learning year on the R1, whilst Jason O'Halloran replaces fellow Aussie Josh Brooks alongside the talented young Scotsman. Both riders will be eager for race wins, and with a solid end to 2018, the McCam's effort is definitely one to keep an eye on. Matt Truelove joins the effort to run as a satellite Yamaha rider under Raceway's Yamaha branding.
And McCam's Yamaha aren't the only team wanting a new look. Honda UK had to make a change after 4 seasons of status quo, and my goodness have they come up with an exciting dynamic. Andrew Irwin gets a dream chance after a stunning end to 2018 on the Ducati. However, an even more exciting prospect is the arrival of former World Superbike star Xavi Forés. Criminally discarded from the world stage, British Superbikes will come alive with the Spaniard's much anticipated arrival on the 2019 horizon.
Tyco BMW will keep some of the familiarity of 2019, with Christian Eden retaining his seat at the Northern Irish squad. He will enter his 4th season with the Tash Racing outfit and will almost certainly be looking at the very least for a showdown position and a first win. Alongside him is reigning National Superstock 1000 champion Keith Farmer, who gets his long overdue Superbike return. Once more, it is an exciting prospect on paper, but will they finally crack the showdown spots for the first time since 2015?
Talking of BMW teams, Smith's BMW have come out with their 2019 plan of attack. Rebecca Smith's popular team season number 60 of Peter Hickman return once again, looking to make it 3 seasons of showdown success. After Silver and Barry disaster in 2018, it is a pleasant sight to see James Ellison back for another year and on competitive machinery. The company will look to return to winning ways, as 2018 was his first year without a win since 2014.
Replacing Ellison at Tag Racing Yamaha is Dan Linfoot, who spearheads Rob Winfield's squad as he looks to bounce back to winning ways whilst putting the team back at the pointy end of the grid. Linfoot has had a 2-year hiatus from the showdown with the new Honda Fireblade, but joins a team and a bike capable of propelling him back towards the top 6 in the championship. Sean Winfield partners him and will be looking to build on an impressive 2018, which featured multiple point-scoring rides and a best of 13th.
Over at FS3 Racing Kawasaki, Danny Buchan services are retained. The Basil and Bullet impressed so many throughout 2018 and took 2 mega podiums at Knock Hill. Buchan will be looking to add to his tally in 2019 and go in search of his first British Superbike race win. At RAF Regular and Reserves Kawasaki, reigning National Superstock 600 champion Ryan Vickers has been given the opportunity to fill the boots of Jake Dixon, whilst Fraser Rogers retains his seat at Gearlink Kawasaki.
Suzuki's are coming and going from the British Superbike grid, but one thing is for certain: Bradley Ray is staying. Who joins him is anyone's guess, although speculation leads us to believe that it's going to be Billy McConnell. Halsall Racing Suzuki have also withdrawn from BSB in 2019 after a tricky time of things in their comeback season.
And at OMG Racing Suzuki, it'd be fair to say that they've had some turbulence in the off-season too. Luke Mossey joins the team for his relaunch as a championship challenge in 2019, whilst Josh Elliott joins him, Ballon Mallard's finest, getting a call-up for a full season of Superbike racing. Gino Rea was initially on the bike, but due to a conflict of interest, became the first casualty of 2019 before the season had even begun.
PR Racing were one of the earliest teams to sign, with Joe Francis finally getting his big break in British Superbikes with his local team. John Jamieson's team have had bad luck in the last couple of seasons, but have shown on occasion that they can be in the top 10. Joining Francis as a full-time rookie is David Allingham, who steps up to EHA Racing aboard a CF Motorsport prepared R1 Yamaha. Tommy Bridewell keeps his job at Steve Moore's Moto Rapido team, who are now branded as Oxford Racing Ducati. Bridewell is one rider who could be a title contender if his end-of-season form is anything to go by.
So there you have it, the 2019 Bennett's British Superbike grid as we know it at the moment. And with Team WD-40 yet to announce their 2019 plans, Aaron Zanotti rumoured to be running his own team, and the prospect of a brand new Suzuki outfit to enter the championship, it could be one hell of a 2019 British Superbike year. Let us know who your favourite is for the title and who else you see as joining the class of 2019.
Oh yes, well spoken there, Mr. Kiko, and Liam Hodgins as well. Well done for putting that together. Well done, Kiko.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your abuse I've just had in the 6 minutes I've had.
What are you talking about? What? We were enjoying the nice thing about the BSB.
Honestly, splitting hairs. Look, splitting hairs all around here.
So yes, we'll put that out because there was, I think, some confusion about who was going where and stuff. And Liam and Kiko wanted to put together a nice explanatory bit of a nice little graphic for you guys. Just
it's a bit long. We'll admit it is a bit on the long side. However,
it's a brisk
Pink
6
Floyd
minutes.
We're on the long side, and look how big they became. Everything is good.
Anyway, we did tease briefly about a caption competition. And this is only, I know we're doing usually radio, but we I suppose for people who are tuned in visually, watching our visual radio stream, I suppose we should just put this up. Just explain that this is Brad Ray before our interview that Kiko conducted, and we're going to welcome captions for this, and it was just a literal freeze frame, an unfortunate freeze frame, much like what Nat Jarvis has been suffering for most of the evening. So we thought we'd get Brad Ray into that as well. But it's good to see Nat back again on the show, however temporarily. And we've got one more interview to bring you before we go, and that is Mason Law. Now, why are we talking to Mason Law, Kiko?
Well, you might have noticed on that little voiceover we've done, Mason Law's name did not appear. However, Team WD-40 are yet to announce their rider. Rumour has it that he's not going to stay at the team. We asked him at the NEC what his plans for 2019 were, and he just said to be on a bike, in a way. So, we spoke to him about what his future holds, and this is what he had to say, really.
I'm with British Superbike rider Mason Law. Mason, you were a rookie in 2018. It's been a decent year. Good results here and there, and progressive at the start. Did the World Superbike wildcard at Donington Park as well. So, how was 2018 for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was a learning year for me in obviously the British Superbike class. So we had some real strong results when obviously I found my feet actually on the Superbike, and Thruxton was obviously the memorable one for me, getting a single figure position. So was really happy with that. As you mentioned, we did the World Superbike entrance, which was going really well actually until a slight cold tyre and an excited kind of throttle hand, and I put myself on the floor in qualifying and actually fractured my heel. So the rest of the weekend was a bit of a nursing job, but still it was a great experience, and 2018 for sure is memorable.
How did you feel getting onto the Superbike? It was some people say it was an unexpected step for you. You weren't a standout candidate for a Superbike ride, but you adapted pretty well. How do you think you adapted to the bike? Because obviously adapting from stock 1000 to Superbike isn't as seamless as people might think.
No, I think that's the biggest thing as well. And for me, going from stock to Superbike, I did want to kind of make the move as early as possible, because obviously stock has traction control, electronic aid, and Superbike doesn't. So, yes, more grip on the slicks, but no, it isn't an easy transition, to be honest, and you think the two being 1000cc bikes, it would be, but there is so many things going on, and especially in the garage on the electronic side. If you can't get that right, you're not going to have a good weekend. So I had a strong 2017 on the stock bike, and the option was there to actually progress into Superbike, so I took it, and obviously when we had everything aligned, we had good weekends. So
what about 2019? It's nothing set in stone yet. You're at the NEC. There's a lot of deals being done behind closed doors. Is there anything on the horizon for you?
No closed doors for me. I'm just here drinking coffee and having a mooch around, just having a look at some of the new models. Every manufacturer has brought something a bit special for 2019, so it's looking positive from that side. But no, for me, there's nothing set in stone. Maybe written in sand, and then the waves come. So we'll see. Look, it's not early, but it is still early. So we'll see what 2019 brings. Ultimately, I just want to enjoy riding my bike again. So whatever I feel is gonna do that, then that's what I'll do.
Where would you like to be in 2019? What championship, if you could choose? Super Sport, Superbike, Stock 1000 maybe, return there. What one would you like to be in?
To be honest, look, I love and always had loved riding the 600, but it is getting to be the 1000 kind of market now, especially for manufacturers. So I'd like to be on a 1000cc motorcycle. Obviously would like to stay in Superbike. there's not many seats, and without discrediting anyone, there's only a certain amount of seats you'd actually want to be on. So yes, obviously look at Stock 1000 again, but to look at it differently than I did in 2017, to go in and look, I miss winning races. I want to win races again, and really be challenging at the front. And if Stock 1000 is where that can happen, then obviously that's where I want to be.
And what bike? Because a lot of bikes now new. The new Kawasaki's come out. BMW have just brought a new bike out. Honda coming back into Super Stock 1000. There'll be a couple of privateer models there. The Suzuki's coming on. There's a lot of good manufacturers out there. Which one would you prefer to be on? You've been most of your career on Kawasaki.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing, I think. As I said earlier, there's the manufacturers. There's so many who brought some really exciting new projects out, and you know, for me, obviously I would like to stay with Kawasaki. I've got a very good relationship with them, and I've come up and they've brought me through the ranks from motocross. So I've only ever ridden a sports bike being a Kawasaki, but look, it doesn't mean that if there's another option I can't take it. You know, BMW have got an exciting new bike. The Suzuki's have done very well in the Stock 1000 Championship since bringing out their new bike. Honda obviously will be strong within the Honda racing team. You know, Yamaha also a good bike if you've got the right crew around you. So I think the biggest thing for me, which a lot of people outside of racing don't realise, is the package. You know, who you've got around you, and it is so important to be able to, even in Stock 1000, be at the front. So yeah, we'll see. Look, I'm not, as I say, not behind any closed doors. I'm at the minute I'm wanting to go racing, and I say I'll only go racing if I find the package I feel that I can actually do something with and have fun.
Mason, thanks for talking to us. Let's hope you get a ride out on the grid some point next year in whatever class it may turn out to be.
Thank you, cheers.
Mason Law talking to us at the talking to Kiko at the NEC, and interestingly though, Kiko, he said he doesn't actually have a solid ride just yet, but he has something written in sand, which they were his words, what he said, which I didn't pick up on at the time, but just listening to him then suggests that he has a provisional deal in place with someone.
Yeah, true. It's a bit like a sandcastle, though, isn't it, really?
No.
You know, you build a sandcastle and then the next day it's not there. So I think that's where he's going with that. He writes something in sand and then someone comes and waves it away, I suppose.
Thanks for that analysis on sandcastles. That's what
he means. Have you never heard that phrase, written in sand? So
yeah, I've heard the phrase. I've never heard your analysis of it. Anyway, Ed, interesting one from Mason. Do we think he will be back on the BSB grid, or could he maybe go back to Stock 1000 again?
I mean, with the BSB grid filling up so fast, the head is saying...
Would you like to see him back in BSB?
He's too good not to be in BSB, for a start. He's got so much potential, so much talent about him. He's a young kid. You know, whether he gets a ride in 2019 or not, it won't really matter, I don't think, in the long scheme of things, because he will be back in there. As he is talented, he's well supported, he's got good people around him. And yeah, I think it is just a matter of time until he finds a solid ride, a competitive ride as well, in the top class.
Nat, what do you think? Same question for you.
Yeah, I think he done enough to prove himself last year. You know, it was his rookie year. But yeah, I think he's good enough to be within BSB, and I think certainly next year he'll improve on what he done this year.
Sorry, go on, Kiko.
Oh God!
Sorry, Kiko's.
Sorry, it's just the screen. It's the way he stopped.
Nat's unfortunately had a screen freeze again, which is very unfortunate. But it's not as bad as it was earlier, which is something anyway. But I suppose we'll blame Skype on that. But very supportive colleagues.
A broken Kiko.
Sorry, I completely forgot what you were saying now. But yeah, something about supporting Mason Law.
Yeah. No, just that I think obviously if he stays within BSB, next year, then I think he'll do a lot better than he done this year. And he had a solid first year, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose he did, and I don't see there being a scenario where he, if given the right sort of opportunity to get on the right type of bike, shouldn't take it really. Maybe, I mean, could he even be good enough perhaps for a ride elsewhere, not in this country?
Well, he did the World Superbike wild card, didn't he? And in all fairness, on a bike that wasn't World Superbike spec as far as I'm aware, but he's never been in World Championships, so that was a pretty decent experience for him. You know, he wasn't lapping awful lap times at all.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see anyway, and I suppose like with most people, we will keep up to date with Mason, and he definitely wasn't just there to go and have a coffee and look at some bikes, was he? Let's be honest.
We can do that if you go to a local Costa Coffee and sit on the corner of your high street, can't you?
Exactly. I always find it funny when at these massive trade shows and massive industry events, you bump into people who are not necessarily on the bill to be in there attending. You're like, oh, okay, it's what's it there, and it's always
fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, what are you doing here? I'm just looking. No, you're not. Are you just really just looking, or is it just a coincidence that you're
looking for contracts?
Yeah, that you don't actually have a ride for next year, and your possible new employer is probably here with a stand.
It's a bit like for people who are struggling, well, for motorcycle riders who aren't in work for 2009, it's a bit like going to a job centre, really, having a look around to see what's available.
And I suppose they don't appreciate people like us sticking their microphones and cameras in their face, because anybody who's had the indignity of going to the job centre, I suppose you don't want to be interviewed by the media every time you are sort of like signing on and mooching about, I suppose. But
so then, is it Pizza Express for 2019 we're hearing?
So how do you feel about this? Go away.
Yeah, I don't want to be a labourer.
But yeah, fair play. We like Mason Law, and we do hope he gets something so he can be front and centre, because if he is where he probably wants to be, I suppose you'd sort of rule him in for maybe a showdown bid, potentially, given that a lot of the top people, as we've spoken about in previous shows, have moved on or retired or gone from BSB now. So yeah.
Yeah, but look at the talent coming in, Leicester. Scott Redding, you know, Xavi Forés.
It's not guaranteed that these big names are going to do big things.
No, it's true, but
I mean, look at
of those two. You know, had it been someone like Xavier Simeon and Toprak Razgatlioglu, fair enough. But Xavi Forés looks something a little bit special, and Spaniards have a good record in Britain. Forgetting Gregorio Lavia rocked up unexpectedly in 05 and done the business in a totally different era of British Superbikes. But Scott Redding, he's a rider who's going to throw his weight around, and there's a lot of it. So,
how should we take bets on how soon it will be before there's, like, I don't know, some sort of let's say disagreement between Scott Redding and all of the rest of the grid? As much as we love Scott Redding, I can certainly imagine his antics not going down too well.
The likes of Josh Brooks, for example, his own teammate. Shall we get some predictions in? Anyway, I know where you're going to go with this, but I've put on our Superbike Show plan that everyone is going to be putting their predictions in, and it's only fair, Lester, since you are the host.
But I think we're just running late on time, I'm afraid.
No, we've got 4 minutes. That's a minute per prediction for all of us. British Superbikes, World Superbike, MotoGP champions, Mr. Forbes.
World Superbikes, Jonathan Rea.
Okay.
MotoGP, Mark. Yeah, these are obvious, but, you know.
BSB then? What's so obvious in British Superbikes then?
Depends on
who's going to finish top, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose it does. I might do a Kiko here and just name every single rider and say, well, you know, let's not also discount, you know, let's what's it's looking good as well.
That's not how I talk. That's how someone else talks. So we won't mention their name on air.
Anyway, so yeah, BSB champion. it would be. I'd like to. I don't want anyone to not do well, but given the experience, I would probably say Brad Ray.
Oh my God. Wasn't expecting that. And that's not in a bad way. I just thought you'd be leaning. That's a bit of not an outside bet. Well,
it's not really, is it? No, top six.
And okay. Ed, go on, fire away.
From
MotoGP.
MotoGP.
Superbike.
MotoGP. It's so hard to look beyond Marc Marquez. I know it's really boring, but I just can't see anyone beating him.
Stop copying
next year. So, Marquez, World Superbikes. You know what? If he can stay fit, I would be tempted to put a bit of money on Chaz Davis, because the Panigale V4R, it sounds like it's going to be such a better bike. All the riders who have test-ridden riding, they're saying they can actually turn the bike through the corners. The bike wants to go through corners. That's never happened with a Ducati. It's still a missile on the straight. Once they've got it dialed in, Davis can stay fit. I've got a feeling, because he's so hungry, desperate for that World Championship. So I'm going to say Davis for World Superbikes. BSB. Glenn Owen's probably gone to the best team. And if he doesn't win it, I'd say it would be a young rider, probably. Their time is coming, the young riders. And I would go for Taron Mackenzie, the Mackenzie Yamaha, because he had such a strong finish to the season. He's got all that momentum coming into the winter. And if he just keeps on going with testing, he's only going to get better. So I think, Taron Mackenzie, I'll say, is my shout for BSB.
Interesting, Nat, if he's still with us, but if he hasn't buggered off because he got bored of me laughing at him.
How much time have you got?
Go on.
MotoGP. I think MotoGP is going to be really interesting next year, because I think, as Ed said, it's hard to see past Marc Marquez, because he is just. James Toseland touched on it before, and he said it's Marc Marquez's era. I agree, but I also feel that Dovizioso is going to come out of the blocks absolutely fighting. And I have a sneaky feeling on Alex Rins, how strong he's been on the second half of the season. Alex Rins could really throw in a spanner, if he gets that Suzuki hooked up. So, but ultimately Marquez, but I think Dovi and Rins will be in there as well. World Superbike, I'm going to go with Bautista. Yeah, I'm going to go with Bautista. There's reasons behind that, though. Danilo Petrucci is only on a 1-year contract in MotoGP. If Bautista comes out the blocks fighting, he's already got a testing gig in Jerez with Ducati, replacing Michele Pirro, who's been in for an operation this week. He was phenomenal in Phillip Island. He's obviously sort of been well groomed by Ducati at the moment, so I really feel like Bautista could just sort of hit the ground running, and potentially we may well see him on a factory Ducati for 2020. Who knows? BSB, this is the hard one, because there's been a big reshuffle. I would personally, I would like to see Scott Redding do it, because I think he's got a point to prove. But I think O'Halloran's going to be strong. I think Taron Mackenzie's going to be strong. Josh Brooks will probably be strong. Brad Ray. The level of the BSB field's just unbelievable at the moment. It's got to be one of the most world-class domestic series on the planet. And arguably the talent's just as strong as World Superbike and MotoGP with the names in there. So, yeah, I think BSB will be an interesting one, I think that one's completely open.
But if you was to choose one?
I'm leaning towards O'Halloran.
Ooh. Okay. It's only fair that I do mine. MotoGP... Lorenzo. I'm going to say Lorenzo. He's just, to me, he's got on that Honda too well. to start with.
Injured.
Too well. He's only going to get faster, and if he gets any faster, he's going to be breaking up records everywhere he goes.
Not necessarily.
So Jorge Lorenzo for me, because I think he's got his head's back in the game a bit more now. So Lorenzo, World Superbikes, I'm going Bautista. But I don't think Sykes will be too far off if that BMW.
No, just pick one. Come on.
But I'm going to go Bautista. And in British Superbikes, I'm going to say... what am I going to say in British Superbikes? I am going to say Josh Brooks. He's on probably the best bike. He's a champion. He's been in the top 3 for the last 2 seasons he's been back. And all in all, he knows all the circuits. And if that is one, he's probably the most experienced guy in that championship now. Maybe besides Tommy Bridewell. Can Tommy Bridewell win the championship? I'd love to see him do it. Can he? I don't want to say he can't.
I think you were just picking one name, though.
But I'm going to go with Josh Brooks. So we're going to go Jorge Lorenzo. I'll take honours out of us 4 because I'm the only one who's not gone for Marquez. Thank you. Bautista, I'm with Nat on that. And I'm going to go with Brooksy.
Okay. Interesting. And let us know your thoughts if you're tuned in.
Conversation didn't stop here.
Exactly. Yeah, you can still get in touch with us even though we're off the air because you can still leave your comments in comments box below. You will be read and yeah, we do read all the comments. So don't forget as well, by the way, to go back and download an audio download of this show on Spotify, on the Apple podcast app. Is that a thing? I don't know. Wherever you get your podcast from, you can download us, take us with you on your journeys to and from circuits or wherever, and that'll be a regular thing as well going into 2019. And well, that is kind of really it, guys. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Nat, for joining us on the final show of final Superbike show of 2018. Thank you as well to Liam as well for being a small part of today's show, and Kiko Giles as well. Thank you once again, who's provided pretty much all of the inspiration and motivation to even do this show as well. So thank you, guys, and thank you for tuning in to us periodically and throughout the rest of the season. We know you kind of only do it because you were curious to see if we were slagging you off and see what we were saying about you. But thank you anyway. It's all stats and points mean prizes or something like that. But yeah, Kiko, thank you once again.
No, I think... Thank you, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed the show. It's my 2nd year of doing it and leading it alongside you, Lester. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We certainly have. We're going to be back bigger, stronger, better, bolder in 2019. And we've brought this show to nearly 500,000 people this year. That is our incredible reach. That's not including all the broadcasting we do. That's not including our other articles and our editorial side. This show alone has reached 500,000 people, almost. We've grown tenfold since we were in this position last year. We've brought you the most exclusives of news. We've brought you some incredible names as guests, and we've got you to interact, and we've played games, and we've had a laugh. It's been amazing. But that's it. 2018 is done. 2019 is on the horizon. From all of us here at Motorsport Radio, and indeed more specifically tonight, the Superbike Show, have a great Christmas and a great New Year. Thank you for being an amazing audience. We'll see you all again, to do it all again, in 2019. Goodbye.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm David Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joan Zarco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.